you value excellence to enough of a degree that you can be confident that if somebody comes and pays for a service from you, that they're going to walk out satisfied because they know that you gave it what you had.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the Rare One podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about how to develop confidence as a stylist. I feel that there are so many stylists that can benefit from this, and I think the biggest thing that kind of holds us back is a lack of confidence. So it's really exciting that we're going to get into this today. So I'm Essence China.
And I'm Adelaide Good. Here we go.
Let's go.
All right. This is your, I don't know, it's like your bread and butter.
Yeah, I love confidence.
Yes. So I'm going to let you share with the people why it's so important to have confidence in general. And then we can talk about how it goes into being a stylist. So let's do it.
I mean, well, when I think about confidence, I also think about like believing in yourself.
Yeah.
And I think the degree to which you believe in yourself is going to determine how you behave and therefore what you become. And we don't really realize it's not the person that always that's most talented, but it's the person that's like more confident, the person that believes. I mean, and they could be wrong, but strong in their confidence, strong in their belief about themselves, strong in, just their presentation. And I think that confidence is huge for so many different reasons, like, how you present. I think for me, confidence connects.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of like be in the presence of a stylist and you can tell if they lack confidence. Like just in the way they execute, you can tell if they lack confidence. And so that can either be a disconnect or a connection for the client. The client can feel it. Like, like they can feel the second guessing. They can feel the self-doubt. And even though they can't necessarily pinpoint it, this is where it's just like, okay, I don't necessarily know if I want to come back.
Yeah, they feel a difference in their experience with you.
Yeah. And so I love coaching stylists on confidence because I really feel like if they can tap into that which makes them rare and really become confident in the simple fact that there's nobody that can be you.
100%. Oh, I love that. Yes.
And we hear that, but I don't know if we completely understand the value of that. Because it's just like, okay, there's only one me, but what does that actually mean? Yeah. And I think for me, it means that the way that when you show up in your authenticity, in your rareness, believing in yourself and in your confidence, again, there's just going to be a connection. And I think that what stylists don't really understand is that there are a million stylists that do what you do, but there's not a million stylists that do it like you do it.
Yeah.
But in you doing it, you have to do it with your authenticity. You have to do it and you can't be authentic without confidence.
Yeah. It's really hard because the antithesis of confidence is comparison.
Yeah.
So if you are comparing yourself all the time, you're going to lack that confidence because you're thinking you have to do it like somebody else.
Yes. And so what that causes you to be is inauthentic, which doesn't allow for connection. And so I think that the more that we can tap into, our confidence and show up like in our complete selves, let me go back. Even with authenticity, we think about something before it was ever traumatized, before it was ever tainted, before it was ever. And so sometimes we lack confidence because of words that have been planted when we were young, because of experiences that we've had that we don't even realize are causing us to think and operate in a way that negates the confidence that we should have, right? It's so funny because there's a scripture and it talks about, it says, cast not away your confidence because it has a great recompense of reward. And so the thing is like, when I think about that, it says cast not, which means I already have it, but I'm choosing to throw it away. I'm choosing to give it away. You know what I mean? And so it's like, how do I regain my confidence as a person first, right? Because I do believe that, again, your business can only grow to the extent that you do as a person. It's how you are as a person is going to show up in how you are as a stylist. But yeah, I'll let you speak to that.
It's not that I didn't come in confident. I mean, I was a 15-year-old, a teenager, child, that I just was a braider. I didn't think much of it, but I remember the words specifically. You said, like, you did that? Like, what?
Yeah.
And then offering an opportunity at 15 didn't make like much sense to me, but I remember along the way, it was you encouraging me. So we can talk about the words that, like, yeah, if they're in a negative sense, it can fully discourage you. But even along the way of like, no, exactly how you're doing that is just fine. Like there was still refining that was going on in my techniques. But it was you showing up the way Essence is supposed to show up, but you also encouraging me to show up the way I was supposed to show up. That didn't create an unhealthy conflict or an unhealthy comparison. Not just comparison. It didn't create that environment that we had to compete all the time. It was your strength is exactly what you need and my strength is exactly what I need. And then bringing those things together, it just made it a better experience in general. And I think that has absolutely flown right into the environment that we've essentially like cultivated over all of these years. Because not only do we invite stylists to come in where they are, but we are encouraging them to like feel like they're enough in the beginning so that as they get better, they'll always feel like they're enough. Yeah. But it's really hard to really shift that mindset when somebody has been discouraged for so long. So today we really just want to give you guys just some of the ways that we encourage confidence, not only with our team, but things that we have to speak to ourselves every day, because there's always going to be an opportunity for us to kind of get knocked off our game or not be confident, especially when we're stepping into new territory. Even this is new territory for us. And so it's really important for us to remember the things that help encourage that confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the reasons why stylists don't have confidence or has not necessarily grown into the full fruit that it needs to be is a lack of competence, which is not necessarily knowing the how-to of a thing. And that's so good. There's a remedy for that. You know what I mean? You don't have to not know. Yeah. And so I think that there are stylists that are they're not confident, but they're also not in a position to make themselves competent. Because I do believe the more that you grow in your skills and in your understanding of like how to do things proper, it's going to naturally, as you grow, like it grows as well. And we've even seen that like in our trainings where, stylists, they'll come and, they realize they're just doing one thing wrong, and it's like, oh, I get that. And then there's like this joy that just flows out because it's just like, oh my gosh. And so
light turns on.
That confidence. But conversely, what we'll notice is like when stylists, they're defeated and they are, they're doing something over and over again. And we recognize that this is not necessarily a technical thing or a tactical thing, but it is a mental thing. Can you speak to that?
Oh my goodness. 110% of the time when they're ruminating over things they can't control in their life, they start ruminating over small details of even the things that they know they can do. I know I can do a braid, but they're also thinking about the other thing that they can't control. And it's just like blocking. It literally just keeps blocking your ability to trust your hands to do what your mind already knows what it's capable of doing. And so it's really just taking a step back. And a lot of times when we see this with with our stylists or anybody on our team, it's taking a step back of what's going on. What are you thinking about? Because if we don't communicate those things or make a safe enough space to have that conversation, then it's going to just continue the cycle into their next client, continue the cycle into the next thing that they do. But because we can acknowledge that, it's taking the time, what's going on, to free up that space. It's a matter of eliminating a block. If we free up that space and ask them to have a different conversation with themselves.
Come on.
Let's approach it with a different heart. I know that I can do this. This braid looks fire.
Yes.
Like, I have a whole different experience now with what I'm doing because my mind is focused on something different.
Yeah, I love that because in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, like, what is that tape recorder?
Yeah.
Like, what keeps playing over and over and over again that causes you to believe something about yourself?
Yeah.
I'm not good.
Yeah.
I'm slow. I'm, all of these negative affirmations, these disempowering thoughts that cause us to be in a cycle to where it's like when you think that you will just inherently, you'll be that.
Literally, it's a principle. The word literally says, for as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he.
Right.
And so if you're thinking I'm not good or I'm slow, like that's who you're going to be right then
Right.
and there. So it's literally telling ourselves, telling our muscles, telling our mind, telling our heart, you're going to be different. You're going to behave differently so that a different result can be had.
Yeah, I love that. And so, from a practical standpoint of how do you now reverse engineer that?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I hear you saying that, but then how do I work on that when I'm not even doing hair?
Yeah.
How do I begin to make this like a practice or even a pattern for myself that now I automatically am becoming more confident because of this work that I'm doing outside of the chair? Because I think that's what happens. The battlefield is not right behind the chair. The battlefield is in your mind, and that's a work that you need to do when you're not behind the chair.
Yeah. Yep. In one way we do that, that we also encourage our team to do every single day is affirmations. Like when we start to shift our mind on statements that declare something, it's not just like, I think I want to do this. No, I am this. And until I start to operate like this, I'm going to just keep declaring it over and over again. Even if I'm not fully in that, I'm just going to keep declaring it. And we've seen it transform not only us, but we've seen it transform our team for sure. And their confidence has gone to a different level than when they first came in. But we're going to say it out loud. We're going to hold you accountable. We're going to encourage you.
You're going to say it with your chest.
You better say it with you better stand up,
Yes, stand up. Sure.
We want you to start telling your muscles, telling your cells to do something that feels unfamiliar and uncomfortable in one point, but it's going to feel different than the defeat. It's going to feel like they're wrestling a little bit because you've convinced yourself that lie is the truth.
Yes.
And so it's really just retraining our minds and our bodies to operate in the truth, the real truth. Yeah. And you'll see a result. There'll always be fruit when you start doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is like, when we make affirmations, I think we have to be very specific because it's like you can say I'm a confident stylist, but if you haven't got to the root of why you're not confident, then you saying I'm a confident stylist honestly is like you're still lying to yourself, right? Yeah. And so it's like, and you're not being specific. So maybe you're not confident because you're slow. Yeah. Maybe you're not confident because your braid integrity is not whatever the case is. And so I think that if we can get some more specific affirmations as to what exactly is the root of the reason why I don't feel confident, and then now like combat that with what the actual truth is. Like, you might be slower than you'd like to be, but you're faster than you were last month. Yeah. And I think another thing a stylist can do is look for confirmation of their affirmations because somebody's telling you already, So it was like, somebody would say to me like, "Oh, you're a good speaker." I'm like, well, praise God. I've been saying that in my closet, in my secret place, and now I'm getting confirmation of this affirmation. So now it's becoming more and more true.
Real. And it feels real, like you can connect with it because now you can actually see it coming to life. Yeah. But it's being honest about where you are and then reverse, like you were saying, reverse engineering that. Like,
what's so good about being honest about where you are? Some people don't even know where they are because they haven't held themselves to an account or hold themselves accountable. Yeah. And I think that even a stylist who knows that they may not be as fast as they would like to be, maybe they can start timing themselves so they can start seeing like real life evidence of like, man, last time I did lock maintenance, it took me, X amount of time and I'm recognizing I'm getting through this head faster and you can still start to build that muscle because sometimes if it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you can't really tell. But once you start recognizing like I'm moving in the right direction, it's like going to the gym and start realizing like you're getting some formation, you get some definition.
I got definition. I got a little amp trying to come through. Like, that's how it be feeling for real.
Yeah.
For real. You were saying something earlier, and it made me think about how when we bring people on and we see that there's like small things that do defeat them, and we do start encouraging them to kind of just, you literally have to shift so much of sometimes it feels like your personality. Sometimes it feels like, am I lying to myself? Am I lying? Like, how would you encourage somebody to not feel like a fraud in like the things that they want, but they're like, I don't know if that's real for me. Like, I want to get fast. I want to do those things, but it feels like I'm just not there yet. I hear that a lot of, I'm just not there yet, and I don't want to force myself to be somewhere I'm not. Like, is it still that they're just taking like small steps closer?
I mean, get out of my head. I think sometimes we do make maybe unrealistic jumps.
Okay.
It's like me saying I'm a billionaire right now. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I believe I'm gonna be blessed, but like, and it's not to say that I could be a billionaire, but number one, is that even authentic to me?
Yeah.
Is that even something that like God has for me? Like, I really feel like that is the first thing. It's like, is that authentic? Is that really for me? Or do I just want that because it sounds good and it sounds
good to have?
Yeah. But I think that, yes, it's first, finding out what's realistic and what's also authentic. And so maybe it's a tiny step of saying, okay, well, I'm 15 minutes faster on my styling, or, something that seems like it's achievable. So then you start seeing, because I think when you say like, oh, I do hair like such and such, or, and it just seems too far of a jump, it does feel like you're lying and it's too far of a reach.
So instead of saying like, I'm a master stylist, say that I am a master at this thing. Like, I've mastered this style, instead of a whole bunch of styles or styling techniques, just so that we put those goals in not to say like a realistic place, but like putting them to where you do like feel attainable. Like I can obtain this. Trying to be a billionaire when you can't steward thousands that doesn't make much sense. But I'm like, I want to be a good steward of what I have first, and then God can trust me with a little bit more. So I think that having those realistic small goals are going to be incredibly essential, because if you build more confidence when you start checking things off, like, oh wait, I did do that. I did get a little bit faster. Now I have evidence that I can do it. And so I am going to be more confident in it. And so then again, it's not, you don't have as much space in your mind to take up of, I'm not achieving anything, or I'm not achieving goals. And you're hitting those markers. Yeah, exactly. That are achievable.
I think one thing that seems probably so left field, but I think it's really important, is when you look good, you feel good. And I think when you present yourself, no, it's not wearing designer clothing. It's not, no, it's like present yourself in such a way that shows that you care for yourself. Present yourself. And the only reason why I'm saying it is because in all the years and employing over 25 stylists, like, I've seen like some of the confidence has to do with like presentation. Like, you're not going to feel good, and you're not going to, execute well if you're not even putting into yourself first. And then it's like, how are you... Some people might fight me on this, but like, how are you beautifying somebody if you haven't first like poured into yourself? I think that sometimes people are trying to give more to others than they're giving to themselves. And so it's like, how can you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's hard to be confident when you're giving from your portion instead of your overflow. Yeah. Like, I know without a shadow of a doubt, I poured something into myself. I took some time to do my makeup or put some mascara on. I don't know, put some lip gloss on.
Cute.
Look cute enough, it's not saying you need to come in like it's a fashion show, but did you put some effort? Did you love on yourself? It starts with did you put a little bit of love into your own reservoir before you try to start like making somebody else look good? And then if you continue to do that, resentment can come because now you're so empty. Like, I'm giving. And no, did you start filling up your cup first? Right. Then you'll be a lot more confident where you don't feel like somebody's taking from you all the time, and you're able to just pour out you're able to pour out enough.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to communicate to somebody, like, don't come to work looking like you just rolled out of bed, because that's what you're going to give people, you know? Mm-hmm. It's much easier to tell somebody, okay, we are all going to put in a little more effort to show up better so that we can pour out better.
Yeah. But when you look good, you feel good. Yeah. And I think that it is a feeling thing. Yeah. And so you can believe more for yourself and bigger for yourself when you feel good about yourself. You know, and again, it's not just about like the styling side of things. It's not just like the practical, oh, I'm, great at this, but it's just like, no, I am like pouring into my own personal development, you know, like I'm committed to my own personal development. And one of those things is just, being a more confident person.
Yeah. When would you say you learned, and I would say this is an art, because I think that you set the tone for this in the salon with like making sure that it was a team environment. Mm-hmm. When would you say like you knew or you started to implement that shift intentionally and like, we're going to encourage one another? Is this just naturally essence, or did you learn like this, I won't say skill, because I feel like it's such an integral part of our culture now, that not only do we encourage each other, Essence taught me the art of you better hype yourself. Lord have... She like, look, if you don't like this braid, I love this braid. I mean, this is fire. Now I'm like, I'm not looking necessarily for somebody else to say it before I'm proud of it.
For myself.
I'm proud of it for myself. It doesn't matter if it looks like your braid. You've been doing... I always tell people that's not fair to compare yourself if you've been doing hair for 5 years and I've been doing it for 2 decades.
That's
not
a word.
Fair,
yeah.
To yourself. It's going to discourage you because you're going to feel like you're never enough. But if you are proud of this braid, you better hype yourself, girl.
Yeah.
If you're proud of that twist or whatever it is, you better hype yourself. But then you also encourage us, like, we will shout across the room, them braids look good over there. I see them twists, like, and it creates a whole different environment where it makes the client feel like they notice, like they're hyping each other up. They're not competing.
Yeah.
Like, and then the stylist, it definitely gives them a little bit of a hit, like, okay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Like, it does boost their confidence. But I would just say, like, when did you feel like you noticed that about yourself and how you were going to implement that in the salon, if that was a thought?
If you are looking to achieve flawless styles like this right here, these parts, they're just crisp, we're getting through it, you need to order you a pack of our precision parting combs. What they're going to help you do is to braid and to part with speed and with ease. Many times stylists are losing time because they're parting over and over again. They're second guessing themselves because maybe the tools they're working with aren't the best. So we want to help you with that. Go ahead and go to rareessenceacademy.com/combs and get your precision parting combs. Now back to our podcast.
To be honest with you, it wasn't. I think it's just who I'm who I naturally am.
You're a hype woman.
That is like helping people believe in themselves is just my superpower. Yeah. I've always been this way, and I just when I see people doing amazing, I have to acknowledge it, and I want them to know that this is like I'm not hyping you to be hyping you.
If it ain't there,
trust and believe. Listen, if I ain't feeling it, I'm not forcing it. So if I'm saying it, like there's weight and there's value to it, and I want you to know that I see you. And I think sometimes when stylists either are new stylists or they're learning a new skill, there's going to be that questioning of, am I doing it right? And I want them to know, like, you're doing amazing. And I wouldn't even have you on a client if I didn't think that you could execute. Yeah. And so, I think that it naturally became a part of the culture because I'm going to be this every day because this is not me putting it on. I don't know how to take it off.
Yeah, that's so good.
And good. I think that, that kind of speaks to another thing. It's like, be in an environment where you can be supported, because I think that sometimes you can be doing affirmations. Yeah. You could be practicing, you could be learning, but you're still defeated. But some of the defeat is because of the environment that you're in. So and good. If you're in a competitive environment where, there's just that type of energy, then you may not be able to grow to the degree that you should if you're in an environment that's cultivating you. Yeah. And so we naturally just create a environment where people are cultivated. And I love to see people grow. Like it is, the Bible says one plants, one waters, but God gives the increase. But I'm just grateful that I'm just a part of the process in any way.
Yeah. And you've literally created a standard that's like, it is forever a part of the Rare Stylist culture. Like, and anyone who comes on this team, is just like, if this is not a part of how you operate, you ain't gonna thrive here, okay? Because this is it genuinely is who we are, and I see a complete shift in their confidence because of those moments of hype. They're like, that style looks really good. Them twists look really. Oh, that braid today, I see it's much better. But it's also in a place where we're not going to allow you to stay mediocre or stay like just barely hitting the mark.
Absolutely
we're
not.
going to keep pushing you. So if that braid is not where it's supposed to be, we also make space to say, let me help you fix that. Let me help you get it to the standard that we know that you can get to. Let me refine it a little bit more so that you can be more confident that the client is walking out with something you can feel proud of.
Yeah.
You know you ain't proud of that braid. Let's do it again. You know that twist look a little lumpy over here. Let's do it again.
Right.
Let's make sure your hands are and technique is correct. Relax your shoulders. I can tell you're stressed. Do you need a break? Do you need 5 minutes? Do you need a breathe? Like literally, like
do you need a nap?
Do you need a nap? Don't you take a nap at work? but like literally, like, oh, let me make sure that you can give your best self so that I'm not encouraging you to be stagnant. I'm not encouraging you to be mediocre and be celebrating something that's not necessary. I'm not trying to say it in a mean way, but like, don't be celebrating no whack braid. Like,
yeah. Have a standard.
Have a standard.
Like, well, and I think if we go back to the acronym of RARE, the E stands for execute with excellence or serve. I kind of like that better. Serve with excellence, you know? So always make it your best work. It may not be to the level that one stylist, some other stylists may be, but it's your best.
Yeah. And it's not that we're expecting perfection. And I think it's really understanding that it's really hard to be confident if you expect to be perfect at every single thing. You may look at what I do and be like, Adelaide does it perfectly. No, I have trained for 2+ decades to do it to the point where now my muscles, my hands know what to do automatically.
Right.
Of course, it's going to be different than if you've been doing it for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, so it's not that it needs to be perfect by whatever standard it is. There's still opportunity for what I do to grow. There's still opportunity for me not to be perfect. It's literally like, can I show up and give my best and know it's my best?
Yeah.
Not spend 2 hours on this part.
Yeah. And over perfecting. Okay. Yeah.
And over perfecting it will still make you less confident. But if I know I gave it everything I got, if I know that I put, we have a song for everything, y'all. Y'all gonna get some of that too. But if I know that I gave it everything I have in that amount of time, and if I know I could have done better, then I'm gonna be like, you know what? Do you mind if I redo that one braid?
Yeah.
Versus, I'm not about to do the whole head. Right. But if I do redo that one braid because I know I could have done it better, because my energy was off or I was overthinking, I'm gonna just communicate that and do that one thing versus think that every single part has to be perfect, because it's just an unrealistic standard, and it will set you up to just overthink all the time, and that can take a hit to your confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we also, we've both dealt with insecurities. We both dealt with not necessarily being as confident in a thing, whether it was in hair or in other areas of our lives. And I remember there was a point in time where I did not know, and we're talking about 30 years ago, I did not know how to do comb twists. Like, I seen them or the coils, and I'm like, how the heck? And people would come and they would ask me to do their hair. And this is when I was braiding out of my apartment. So this is before Rare Essence, but I felt bad turning people away because I just didn't know how to do a particular thing. And I would like practice on my brother, and I would like try to figure it out. Because my thing is, if I can see it, I can do it. But this is before video and stuff like that. So I'm not seeing anybody execute it. And so I felt like really bad, like having to send people away, or just like my integrity wouldn't allow me to be like, oh yeah, I could do it, and knowing I could not,
that's so good.
Do it. And I think that that's where people, they really mess up when they try to offer something they know they don't necessarily know how to do, but they think they can figure it out. Go figure it out on your cousin first.
Please.
And so I think that that's a way to build confidence is to have maybe a family member that you can really trust that does not mind you figuring it out on them,
Practice.
for free. You have to practice.
If you want to be more confident, you have to practice.
Yeah.
And we have a whole code of like, I'm not about to, like you were saying, we're not providing services we have not practiced.
Yeah.
And so even if this is practicing for a client a stylist to get better, we're going to communicate that because we know the standard.
Mm-hmm. It's training day.
It's hallelujah. But it is really making sure that you value excellence to enough of a degree that you can be confident that if somebody comes and pays for a service from you, that they're going to walk out satisfied because they know that you gave it what you had. It's really hard to be confident if somebody doesn't give you feedback and they be like, okay, thanks. And they just walk away and you know that it probably wasn't your best or it doesn't look near your best. That can take a hit to your confidence.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree. What about you? Were there ever a time where there was a particular style that you felt like, I just don't, how did you overcome whatever insecurity or like, were there any practical ways that you dealt with not being confident in a particular area?
I think this is a really good segue into when I first came along, I was a child. I was so little. And then, people would make comments all the time about how I looked. And really, particularly, it's like, wait, you have big curly hair and you really light. So I don't know if you have the skills to do kinky curly hair.
That's a real thing, yeah.
And so it definitely made me like, one, I'm going to wear my hair in a bun all the time so nobody sees my hair. And two, I can't change my skin. That's just how he made me. Mm-hmm. And it was always, are you even black? Or what are you? Type thing. Yeah. And so that definitely took a hit to my confidence to be able to just show up and do it. But I'm just like, I'm gonna let these braids talk for me. I'm gonna let these twists talk for me.
Let that be the fuel.
Try literally. But then it seeped over. I noticed that even though I was confident in my styling, I still wasn't confident in me doing the styles all the time. And that took a long time. I mean, years and years of like, you need to check that. You need to check that, you still care about what somebody thinks about
getting to the root.
It was literally getting to the root. And it's a continuous work, you know. But being able to say like, I'm going to practice and practice and practice and make sure that you can't say nothing about this work. You can say what you want to say about me, but you can't say nothing about these braids. You can't say nothing about these twists or whatever. And I think that you helped to encourage that in me through clients that were like, I'm only going to see Essence for the rest of my life. And you're like, I'm not going to be doing hair for the rest of my life. So you better get it together with somebody else type thing.
Yeah.
But I watched you. I studied. What are your hands doing? What is your body position? Not only to the point to where I'm like, I'm doing it like you, but now I'm just like, and how do I refine it?
The fundamentals.
How do I make it?
Yeah.
How do I put Adelaide on it a little bit to where, yes, the expectation is still that they're going to get excellence, but they're going to get my experience. And I had to, and I'm not you.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, how can I be confident in my delivery? How can I be confident in, people are always like, dang, I know I'm coming to therapy today. And I'm like, I know that's a part of who I am. So how can I celebrate that instead of, wanting to shy away from it because it's not being Essence?
I love that because it's saying, what else do I provide in conjunction with the hairstyle that I'm giving that like I can be confident? It goes back to the beginning of the conversation about you're rare. Yeah. And so when you can find the other aspects of you that are intrinsic, that you are able to share in your experience, that's what is the sticking, the it factor to where it's just like, you can be confident in that because nobody can offer that. Nobody.
Yeah.
And so I think like you said, it was like when people come and sit in your chair, they're going to get a whole like a real life therapy session because this is not just your gifting, but also your schooling. Right. Yeah. And a grace too. And so in the same way, when people sit in my chair, it's like, why are you here? Meaning what purpose that God placed you in this earth for. I'm having conversations with them about their purpose. I'm having, but it's in me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know any other way to be. And so we're having these thought provoking conversations to where it's just like, no, they don't feel drilled. It's just like, I never even thought about that before.
They feel singing. They feel something. It's like we're there to awaken something in them and stimulate their roots.
Right. Along with that, they gonna get comedy. Yeah. Because I ain't got no sense. And they gonna hear a song or two, even though my voice, you know what I'm saying? I ain't no Alicia Keys.
They're getting a concert every time. And now it's to the point where they're like, where's the hum? I didn't hear no hum today. You good? Every time.
Yes.
It's a part of who we are.
And so I didn't necessarily, like, I was just being, but then it took for me to be away and even to come back to the chair for me to recognize, oh, this is why I loved it. Like, I love the hair, but I love the connection. I loved, and so you have to even re-identify as a stylist, like why, your why again. We talked about that why in another episode, but it's just like, you know, what is the purpose of you doing this? Like what? And so for me, I realized it's like, I love talking. Yeah. I didn't even know I love talking, you know? And so that's what really helped me to solidify, like, okay, all of the reasons why, you know, I showed up the way I showed up, and even just confident in I'm Essence. Yeah. Can't nobody be me?
Nope. And you would be a fool to try to be somebody else, knowing that then you'd be giving some fake experience to somebody.
Well, you know, I think the other thing is I don't think that people consciously are trying to be anybody else all the time. I think that they're just hiding parts of themselves that they don't know will be accepted to where it's just like, okay, I'm going to be this way. Like, I'll give you an example. I don't know how good of an example this is, but I remember a stylist would tell me, like, when the client came in, she would allow them to listen to whatever they wanted to listen to.
Oh, yeah. Ooh.
And for me, I thought it was a little problematic because you're not creating an environment, you know what I mean? And so, you're tailoring it to them, but you're not being you. Because what if that's something you don't even like?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, you know, people have an expectation when they come into Rare Essence. They know what type of conversations they're going to have, what type of content's going to be played, what type of music. Like, it's a vibe, right? Yeah. And so we're confident in that vibe because we're not putting it on. It's who we are, right? And so when I heard that, I just was like, I think you're doing yourself a disservice, you know? And I think this is where I feel like coaching really comes into play, because there are certain things that stylists are doing without even really knowing that they, if they recognize, like, okay, I'm here to serve them, but I'm serving them as, it's almost going back to like the overflow based on who I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not a chameleon.
And you will attract the right people, because everybody's not a fit for you. And if you can't, it will take a hit to your confidence if you think you can serve everybody. Because then they're going to come and hurt your feelings. They're going to come and make a comment that's just like, oh, they too spiritual, they too this. And it's just like, you're just not a good fit. Yeah. And it's really hard to stay confident in your decision to be yourself when you think you're going to please everybody. Yeah. You're not designed to. Yeah. They're supposed to be for somebody else, and let them go for somebody else. They're supposed to experience, if they're supposed to experience part of you, even if it is a seed, even if it is a seed, like, can you be able to communicate those boundaries to somebody to say, no, we actually don't play that in here. Can you communicate those things? And it's hard to do that. Right. But you would feel more confident knowing that you maintain, like, your authenticity in that experience.
I love it.
Yeah. It is. I feel like it is imperative that we always talk about this, we do our work to start to discover those things, especially when we get into a place of leadership, especially when we get into a place where we say, I want to elevate, but if I don't take time to do any discovery, if I don't know that whatever somebody else does might make me feel insecure, like, oh, if you think that they get into a place faster than you are, or oh, well, they just opened a salon and you know, it's completely more pretty than, I guess, whatever you have in your suite or whatever you currently have. And you think that they're getting somewhere further. You don't know what it took for them to get there. That can make you feel less confident. Right. And I feel like social media creates this unrealistic expectation and barrier to people being able to do that and have their process in a way that is not only manageable, but realistic.
Yeah.
I know that you didn't like necessarily have to deal with I would say the pressure that is on this generation of social media, but even coming into that space, because I mean, you have huge following now, huge Rare Stylist Academy
that I barely talk to.
Yeah. But I think that like you could still speak to. I mean, you have viral styles that still are viral today. Okay, you have viral styles that transform things. How did that even affect your confidence whatsoever? Like knowing that it's a generation of like literally just comparison.
I want to make sure I understand so I can answer properly. Ask me one more time.
Do you feel like you were affected, and it could be by social media and like the role it can play in your own confidence?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel that, I think when you're constantly bombarded with images and, other people's paths and, it can make you feel like you're supposed to be somewhere that you're not already.
Yeah.
I think, when social media had really taken off, my style had just went viral, but I didn't have any followers. Nobody knew I did it.
Yeah.
So there was this pressure of like, I gotta show up and let people know like I'm the one who created this style. So, I really had to like focus in on that. But I definitely can identify with just that pressure. I think that in any area that you're in, there's always going to be somebody that has been doing it for longer and maybe doing it on another level. And so we have to manage that in terms of our own insecurities or the things that we may deal with, and remind ourselves that we're exactly where we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And then sometimes that may be hard to really like accept, like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
But I think that that's where you can kind of like temper that feeling of, because I think it's kind of a natural tendency to be like, oh, dang, well, I wish I had that. But yeah, I think that it was more so me realizing that this is a tool.
Yeah.
And as long as I use this tool, I'm going to be exactly where I need to be, as opposed to this tool using me and manipulating me and my emotions and my thought of where I should be. And then because I think that when we put that energy into wishing we were somewhere else, we're now siphoning what all the energy we could be using to get there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So good.
So it's like, where are we going to put that energy? Are we going to put that energy into being disgruntled and upset that somebody else has a position or that we're not there? Or we're going to say, you know what? I'm going to put all this energy into myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do believe that there's a difference between, encouraging insecurity and being inspired. It's like I know that when I get to a place, when I'm on social media and I'm like seeing certain styles consistently, I'm like, this is beautiful. This. If it starts to well up a level of insecurity, I know I have to take a break from social media. And could that affect an algorithm? Yeah.
Who cares?
Could it does it mean that
I'm protecting my mental health?
Right. Like, does that mean you might have to mute that person so that you don't continue to have to ingest all their images all the time? Yeah, just for a season. It doesn't mean forever, but you have to know when to put the brakes on.
Yeah,
you have to know that. And if you don't take enough inventory, if you don't take enough time to say, this makes me feel a little bit insecure, let me take a break from it to build my confidence back up so that I can come back better.
Yeah,
so that I can be proud of what I'm doing better. You might need to take a social media break.
Yeah.
You might need to stop following a certain person. They are phenomenal. Or maybe not stop following, maybe mute them. If you feel like they're causing you to compare yourself at a standard that is too far for the season that you're in right now.
Yeah.
It's just like, if I just started braiding and I start following Nas, the stylist, if I just started my stomach, like, what in the world? I'm not anywhere near that. I'm not going to want to post. She's an incredible stylist, but she's put in so much work. I'm not going to discredit her because I'm not there. I'm going to take a step back so that I can be able to post my stuff confidently.
Yeah.
It's okay that you can be inspired. that.
And I think the other thing is like just accepting where you're at, because I think that some people, they're waiting to post until
they get to that master level.
And I think that is the greatest disservice you can do to yourself and those you're called to serve, because somebody needs you just where you're at.
Yep.
In the city that you're at with the skills that you have right now, but because you have decided to hold back because it's not perfect, nobody can be inspired by that. Nobody can see the success actually happening. Like there's no track. It's just like, oh, you showed up on the scene, you were overnight success. And it was like, actually, no, I wasn't, but I just didn't have the courage to post. And so I think that having the courage to post, I mean, that goes into, you know, having the confidence to post is a whole nother thing that I feel like that's going to be a whole nother episode. But I think that I think again, you have to put the energy into yourself, whether everybody's limits may be different. And so it's not to say that you're covetous or that you're jealous, but it's just to say that if this is distracting me, if this is changing how I feel emotionally or mentally, then I need to recognize how to shift that focus back onto what I'm doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And again, that just requires you being still enough to acknowledge and notice those things. It's like if you notice that you're not as confident as you want to be, take some time.
Yeah.
Just genuinely take some time and say, well, what makes me not feel confident? Are there people that don't make me feel confident? Are there words specifically that like trigger me to make me not feel confident? Are there even certain tones that people speak in? And then that leads to other roots. And then you can start addressing those things to be able to help you build that confidence up. Doing that work, but another thing that also helps us feel more confident is when we encourage each other.
Yeah.
Like, can I celebrate somebody else where they're at and not feel jealous or not feel prideful? You know, like, can I really celebrate them? I think if you help boost somebody else's confidence too, if you help sow that seed, and somebody else has the opportunity now, like you have room to receive, you know, somebody help filling you up.
Yeah, I think that's good. What you can do, what you make happen for others, God will make happen for you. And so, I think that's a big key for sure.
So and I feel like we kind of answered it a little bit, when you didn't feel as proficient in something, and I say like I feel like we touched on it a little bit, but really for you, like when you didn't feel as proficient in something, one, how did it make you feel and what did you do? Because I kind of talked about like, I just went a little bit harder and I'm like, I'm going to prove them wrong type energy, which is not always the best because it has different roots.
Yeah, the wrong motivation, but
But now, my motivation has shifted. But how do you feel like your motivation in a new season has shifted you to build that confidence?
So you're talking about the season that I'm in right now?
Yeah.
To build a confidence. I think for me, my confidence comes from knowing what God said to me.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, you know, I've had words spoken over my life that had nothing to do with hair. And I'm like, what is this about? You know? And they were all unrelated. Like people would come or I would get a dream or somebody would say something to me and I'm like, okay, God, clearly this is what you're saying, but I don't see it happening and I don't know why it's happening. It's honestly getting frustrating that I keep on getting this word. Yeah. And so one day I was walking in my house and I'm like, oh, okay, God, like, why is this not happening? And he was like, because you don't believe. You can hear a word and you can even like, okay, well, you know, but there's a level of, I need you to come into agreement. I can't supernaturally, or I can, but that's not how it works. Just make something happen until you align. And that alignment comes from the agreement. And so he said, you don't believe. And I'm like, okay, God, well, if I don't believe what you're saying about this new season of my life, well, then how do I get in alignment or how do I learn how to believe? And he was like, I need you to rehearse the rhema over your life. And so, you know, rhema comes from like the word of God, but it's the spoken word of God. So not necessarily reading in the Bible, you know, faith comes by hearing and hearing by the word of God, but it's the rhema word. What has he said to you? And so because God has spoken to me so specifically from different sources, I know that if he put it in me, that he's like, he's going to do the work. Like I'm seeing it not even really in an infancy stage. This is like embryonic. I can't even see it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But because he said it about me, my confidence is in what he said. And so even though I may see somebody that is further along in the path that I'm on, or, you know, that they're on stages or they're, you know, doing certain things, I'm like, I trust what he said. And I know that his word can't return void.
Yeah.
And if he said it, he'll do it.
Yeah.
And so now that I've shifted my belief system, I'm behaving bolder than I ever have before, because I'm no longer trying to believe I know.
Yeah.
And so there's a shift of going from believing to knowing what he said about you and where it is that he's called you to, whether it's a hairstylist, a salon owner, a podcaster, whatever it may be, that now you start moving so boldly because you got a word, and that word is so solid, you can put your weight on it. You can stand on that thing. And so I think I've gotten to a place of like, because I've journeyed through processes with God before, and I understand that nothing happens overnight, like I'm patient, but I also know that he's going to blow my mind.
Yeah.
And so I try my best not to allow myself to get distracted. I just try to put myself back into a place of doing what I know I'm supposed to do. So if it is, I feel like my belief is wavering, I go back to that word.
Yep.
And I start rehearsing it.
That's so good.
Right. And then after that, I start recognizing like I'm moving different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because your mood is shifted by the things that you're meditating on. Right. And when your mood shifts, then it causes you to move differently. And so, but if you're meditating on the wrong thing, then your mood is going to be off.
Yeah.
Right. And therefore you won't move. You will be, you know, stagnant. You will be. And so I think, you know, going back to the question you're asking me is like, I trust God. Yeah. And I know that might seem so simple and sometimes not even like ambiguous. Like, I don't even know, what do you mean like trust God? But it's if you trust him, then what he said is like a check you can take to the bank and cash.
Yeah. Every time. And it's so much harder for somebody to make you feel insecure or unconfident in what he said, because one, you have history. And now it's like, okay, I'm sure without a shadow of a doubt. Now it's just, what is the next step? I'm confident that you're going to lead me. What is the next step? And now I feel like even with us, we have a different level of confidence in what he called us to do, because it's so clear. Now we move with a level of assurance and boldness than we ever did before. Because now it's like, you're literally laying it out. We just have to do the work now. Yeah. We just have to do the thing to believe, like to show that we believe. Like we're just going to keep taking that one step.
Yeah.
And it's a like, I don't know. I feel like at this point in our lives now, it's this exchange of trust in him, and he just keeps depositing more confidence that we can keep doing it. Yeah. Like, okay, we trust you in every single area, and it gets tried. Yeah. Like, I don't think people understand that your confidence is going to get tried. Like your trust is going to get tried. But it's the continual practice. The continual, like, I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing it. Yes, things are going to come to try to throw me off. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep trying. And in that trying, you just keep building. Yeah. Keep building that assurance.
There's a scripture that's coming to my mind, and it's so funny. The word confident is in it, but it said, being confident in this very thing, that he that hath begun a good work in you shall complete it. Yeah. So, you know, sometimes we don't know if he's begun a work in us, but it's like, if he's dropped a dream in your heart, like that is not a natural thing. That is a supernatural thing. It is an indication of the direction that he's calling you to go. You know, we both started doing hair very early, but there's some people that may not start doing hair until now, but it's been a dream that's been deposited a long time ago. So that is an indication of the work that he wants to do in you if you're willing to go along with the process. And so having that essential promise that if I begun it,
it's going to be completed.
It's going to be complete.
Yeah, it will. So I hope that y'all got some confidence today.
For sure.
In whatever God's calling you to do. And if we can do nothing else, we just want to be evidence that it's so real to trust God. It's so real to be confident in the things he called you to do, and that nobody can do it like you.
Come on now.
And the world is waiting for you to be able to really show up in your confidence,
in your authenticity,
and in your authenticity, so that you can inspire somebody else to show up too.
That's it.
Yeah.
I love it. Y'all continue to be rare ones, connect with other people, support other people, and just watch your confidence grow. And we'll see you on the next episode of the Rare One Podcast.
We love y'all.
Peace.
Hey, Rare Stylist, if you are looking to grow in business and you know you need help, we want to help you. Log on to rareessenceacademy.com/coaching if you are ready and serious about growing in business.